Hey guys, this is Nishant again from 25koptionschallenge.com, and in this video we'll talk about the market outlook for the week starting April 18th. As you know, we experienced a really bad correction at the beginning of the year starting January 1st, and we just kept going down and down, took out multiple support levels, and this correction was finally officially over around March 15th. From March 15th to April 1st, we experienced this massive relief rally, which was really nice rally, and but the markets went up so fast that I've been pointing out to our group members that if this rally continues like this, I highly doubt that we'll be able to revisit all-time highs. So I was expecting a correction around this level in S&P 500 or SPY, and we did get that correction, and the markets have been just tanking for the last 2 weeks. Now the question is this correction, sorry, is this pullback over? Um, and do we head back up from here, or are we going back to revisit January lows? So it's a very tricky question, but let's just look at what the signals markets are giving us and what to expect going forward. Now, if you look at SPY, this is the level that just got breached last week, which is the 440 support, which I've been pointing out that it's a very critical support area. So we have briefly breached that level, but I wouldn't add too much meaning to that yet, because next week we have a ton of earnings coming into the market, and where the market goes from here is going to be purely decided by how different companies report earnings and what kind of future outlook they project. This is the calendar for next week, and you'll notice that of course we have war all throughout the week, and war news has been digested into the markets. That's not going to, it's not a major market moving event anymore unless something unexpected happens. Outside of that, on Monday we have home builders index numbers coming out. On Tuesday we have housing starts and building permits. Now I follow real estate really closely, although I'm not a real estate investor, but real estate has far-reaching impact on the entire economy of this country. So I watch it very closely. So these are just some interesting numbers to keep in mind. But what is going to be, in my opinion, what is going to be market moving events next week is earnings. And on Tuesday we start with Netflix at the end of at the close of market, and Wednesday we have Tesla reporting earnings at the close of market. Um, Now, if you remember the last Netflix earnings, I mean Netflix lost 37% in literally 2 days, and not only did it fall so much, it actually took down the entire NASDAQ with it. So this, I got a screenshot from um, Netflix earnings back in January, and look at this massive gap down that happened. And what happened was at that time, and this is a screenshot of QQQ or NASDAQ at that time. So markets were already looking kind of shaky, going sideways all throughout December. And this was like the last straw on the camel's back. And when the Netflix news came out here, it just took down NASDAQ with it. QQQ just crashed like no tomorrow. And then, just this bleeding continued throughout February and halfway into March. So Netflix comes out on Tuesday after market close, and this is the earnings calendar for next week. So these are the stocks that we actually trade actively. So there could be a ton of trading opportunities next week. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that when that Netflix earnings happen, Netflix and Tesla, if the markets take a dive, I'll have to step back on the gas, and I'll not be taking many trades next week, because if we go another leg down, then we have many bearish scenarios that will start developing, which means revisiting January lows and possibly even going lower. So hope Netflix doesn't um, come up with an ugly surprise, and this pullback is done and we head back up. And if that happens, then we have ton of trading opportunities next week. Now let's talk about VIX real quick. So I have highlighted, this is the map of VIX that we use for our daily trading. So we are in this area called chop zone between 24 to 18, and as long as we stay here, you can't start trading. Like, you can't go full throttle with your trading. So keep the contract size on the lower end of the spectrum. Don't overtrade. Try to balance between bullish and bearish trades. The week before this, QQQ was the first one which was beginning to show weakness and divergence, whereas DIA was looking really strong. And I had pointed out that when a divergence like this happens, just be careful, because a weakness in one sector can easily carry over to all other sectors. And we saw many examples of this happening in 2021, where the tech sector would start showing weakness, whereas Dow was making new highs, and eventually it just took down the entire market with it. So, same thing happened last week, where QQQ was showing weakness, whereas Dow was looking really strong, and S&P 500 or SPY was hanging in there. Uh, but what happened towards the end of the week was everything just fell. So QQQ is still looking the weakest of them all, and SPY is still hanging in this area, and Dow is still comparatively strong. But overall, we are in a pullback, and next week's earnings are going to decide where the market heads from there. Coming to Bitcoin, Bitcoin took out that 48K level recently, a few weeks ago, and that got all the Bitcoin cryptocurrency bulls excited. But it didn't last long, and Bitcoin has been selling off ever since, and we are around 39,000 level. 35,000 and 30,000 are strong support for Bitcoin, but we are at that point where there is no clear direction. For Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies to enter a new bull cycle, we absolutely need to clear this 48K hurdle in Bitcoin. So once we are past that, then we can start thinking of bullish trades on any stocks in our watch list which are Bitcoin related, like MSTR and Coin. So the key takeaways for this week is we are at a point where we're almost facing a binary event with Netflix and Tesla earnings coming up. But the bottom line is how where the market goes next is going to be decided by what kind of earnings and future outlook is being reported by all the companies next week. As long as VIX stays in Chop City, I'll try to keep my portfolio balanced between bearish and bullish trades. Now, note that since markets have sold off in the last 2 weeks, I haven't really gotten any good opportunities to put on bearish trades, because typically you would put on bearish trades on um, you know big green days in the market, but we haven't got any of those. So I've been primarily trading call spreads, but if I do get an opportunity like that going forward, I'll again consider taking bear put spreads too. And finally, Netflix and Tesla earnings are going to be major market moving events next week. In addition to that, we have Jerome Powell speaking on Thursday, and of course the jobless claim numbers, which also come out on Thursday. So, ton of things happening next week. It's going to be an action-packed week, And finally, just keep an eye on this cheat sheet which I add at the end of my market outlook, where I mention key levels on all market indicators that I used to gauge market direction. And that's it for this week. I was just trying to wrap up this video in 10 minutes, and hopefully I was able to do that. Thank you.